Hello, Soul Tribe. Welcome to Brother Owl's Garden. I'm very delighted to introduce to you an old friend of mine, a great buddy, and a tremendously honorable and upstanding man. He's coming to us from Burbank, California, but not a game show. And his name is Glenn Rottman. He is a hippotherapist, and I never knew that hippos needed therapy, but apparently they do because here's Glenn. I'm kidding. He's a hypnotherapist.
Is a hippopotamus or just a really cool hippopotamus?
Aha. And that therein lies the kind of questions we're gonna delve into today. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing fantastic. It is always great to have a conversation and share just what I get to experience in my world with clients, with really sharing this gift that I have, that I use, that is my career, that's my life, and just being able to just have a nice conversation and fill the internet with positive, useful wisdom, that
There
we
you
all
go.
need.
On my channel, as most of my viewers are aware by now, I do not shy away from difficult or dark things that I think need to be shared. But today it's going to be a little simpler than that. Um, and I'm going to let you present our topic, and then we'll just hit the ground walking.
Yes, absolutely. One of the biggest topics when people aren't happy in their lives, it's that we let life distract us. And in a way, unless we decide to do this type of work, we fall victim to that between the TV, between the media, between what everybody is posting and talking about. Any minute of the day, we can find something to distract ourselves, to lose our train of thought, to not stick to our goals. And this kind of came about. I had a client 2 weeks ago that just is very unhappy in life, middle-aged guy, and he's not in a relationship. His job is so-so, and he wants to create some new products. He has some areas of life he wants to develop, but he said, every time I sit down to focus, I see something on the internet I don't like, and I start arguing with people. I type a message here, I type a message there. Next thing you know, I'm so frustrated and I got nowhere. And then this bleeds into every area of my life. And it's a really important thing that we need to bring some awareness to. If something can make you angry, then it can control you. I think we have learned from the example of these last few years, fear and anger are being used to manipulate people. And whether you want to see it at any level, I can just see it from a simple, financial level. If I can bring you anger and fear, I can sell you what I want to sell you. And the person who is calm is always the one in control. And when we give in to anger, when we give in to certain social causes and messages that are specifically meant to trigger anger within you, we're just puppets being pulled from a string for other people's financial gain over us. And we can break that cycle really simple with some awareness. I know you never get mad. I never get mad over things we see, right?
Uh, I'm sorry. I was distracted. What?
Exactly.
uh, Glenn, I I actually have an ocean of anger to tap into within me when I
Yeah.
either lose control or accept and allow that anger to be. Now,
Mm.
of course, anger as anger for the sake of anger and holding anger is all bad. But some anger, this is just a mention, as an aside, some anger is righteous anger, righteous fury, but it needs to be channeled and transmuted. In other words, managed positively. It
Yeah.
in itself is not a bad thing, but the stuff that you're talking about absolutely is pure toxic
Mhm.
garbage. And yes, we are being, if we accept and allow and even grasp at or engage in the, forgive my language, absolute shitstorm of
Mhm.
toxic negativity that is available to us via the interwebs,
Mhm.
forget it. It's going to eat you alive. You will just be torn apart, like each bit of it is a piranha, you know. And I
Yes.
think we've all experienced that. You know, the internet is great. The internet is awful. It depends on what you use it for. It's like fire or
Yeah.
many other examples.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so horrible. Well, depends on how you use it. So I totally get what you're saying, and I have fallen into that myself. I think we all have.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
when,
gonna break it down to some specific
yeah,
examples and things that I would like everybody to do. There is a rule in my house, and my youngest daughter, Olivia, always checks up on me on this. And the rule is I am not allowed, and this is my own rule, I am not allowed to make any post or comment about politics. I am not allowed, I don't allow myself to make any posts or comments over COVID or social issues. That is not allowed within me, in my household. We don't do it. That is such a low vibration to put out and to get arguing. And it's meant to distract you. It's meant to divide us. It's meant to take you off of your game. And what we can do in a positive way is we can inform ourselves to the best of our ability. We can keep our mouth shut and we can vote. And then we let it go. That's healthy. Or we can do something that I have done. I have called my governor's office. I have made my opinion known to the people that can do something about it. But I won't fight with somebody that has no control, and all we're going to do is trigger each other and nothing will get resolved anyhow. You know, for people that are passionate about politics, well, go out and get some signatures if you want to make a bill or a law. There are positive ways we can express ourselves within that ugly area, but those ways are not commenting on social media, cutting other people down, thinking we're right and somebody else is wrong, and trying to point out that that is an anger trap that we fall into. And another, right?
yeah. Well, you just reminded me. I saw one of those hilarious Babylon Bee articles, and you know, all
Mhm.
you have to do is read the caption. You don't even have to read the story. And it
Yeah.
said, uh, amazingly, it turns out that Jesus has the exact same political views that I have. You know, that kind of thing. And we all do fall into that. And
Yeah.
and you know, the thing is that, you know, politically, religiously, socially, all that, everybody thinks they're right. And
Yeah.
in some cases, it can be measured that it is better or worse, more desirable or less desirable for the collective. But
Yeah.
overall, everybody believes they're right. There's nobody out there championing a cause that they don't believe in, and it's almost like the louder they shout and shove it down everybody's throats, the more it's like, who are you trying to convince? How sure are you of this? You're trying to
Yeah.
you're trying to blow this through so that you don't have to actually look too deeply at it. But yeah, as far as it goes with posting our opinions on social media, it's an absolute, beyond being a nightmare. It's an absolute fool's errand, and it is a guaranteed entangler,
Yes.
ensnarement of your energy and your life. And no matter how virtuous or well intentioned you believed yourself to be and how correct you think you are, it's
Yep.
just going to create contention. So
Yeah.
what you said, just,
And
you're
with
not the
that,
realm for that.
yeah, and with that, you know, in a war, both parties think they're right.
Yeah, we may be facing that very soon, but I digress.
But you know,
Um,
and it's the same type of a concept. In the argument, both parties think they're right.
yeah,
And it becomes so toxic. Now,
yeah,
in that same thing, so one, if people get that message, and The second part of that is the internet is filled with images designed to take your attention. One of the best examples I can give is there is a very toxic culture where people that are unfulfilled in their life love to rip other successful people apart
The crab
without
in
even
the
knowing
bucket.
the facts.
That's
What's
that's
that?
the that's the crab in the bucket.
Crab in the bucket.
Yeah, well, crabs, a bucket of crabs. When one crab begins to escape, the others will pull it down,
Yeah. Okay.
and
That
that's
makes
crab
sense.
in a bucket. And it's done out of envy and
Yeah.
and jealousy and things like that. And yeah,
So I'll give you a great example. This happened 2 weeks ago. Clint Eastwood, one of oldest long-term amazing actor career guys, they showed a photo of him on the internet. Now, the photographers, the guy's in his 90s. The photographers specifically tried to get an angle of him looking all hunched over and sickly. So you'd be like, oh my gosh, look what bad shape he's in. And it's like, I didn't even dare click on it because I was just disgusted that why? What is the purpose in trying to make somebody look so old and sickly? Yes, he's old, but man, the guy's still producing movies and doing his thing. But they specifically wanted this photo to trigger you to click on it to see what was it all about. Or the headlines that say, you're never going to believe what so-and-so looks like today. It's like, leave people alone.
yeah, that's
What
like
is
Inquirer or tabloid
it is, but
mentality.
that is filled on the internet today. On every main page, that's what you see. And it's another,
Because Glenn,
yeah,
there is an element that runs through the human nature and human psyche to see, and it's awful, but to see somebody else down makes you feel up.
yeah.
That's
And
a
that
terrible
is such,
trait.
it's a low vibration, but that's what we're being programmed with unless we take it back. Unless we just say, no, I don't, you know what? That's not my business. I don't need to see this person in that state. Or, when we see things on the news, a family's tragedy isn't my entertainment or information. When the news shows all these horrible things that happen to other people, it's like that's their private struggle. That's not for us to be privy to, but that is part of the distraction. The world is set up to distract us, and we have to take our mind back because the focus must always be on us. And when we are doing things in life that bring us joy, that bring happiness into our life, all of those distractions start to matter so much less once we make that decision. But it is a hard line we have to draw with ourselves to get our mind back and to stop that toxic gossip, the toxic posting, the toxic anger. We got to keep it out of our lives. And that is where we get it from.
And you know
That's
what
where it all
else? You know what else, Glenn? It's not just in the cyber realm, because then we carry it in us and go out into the world with it.
yeah.
And I will humbly confess one incident I can remember many years ago when I still had a car, and I was driving with my brother. I may have told this story before in another episode, I don't remember, but I was driving along, and man, the idiots were out in full force. They were everywhere. The selfish, stupid moves that were being pulled
Yeah.
just all over the place. And as I was driving along, I'm an extremely alert, defensive, preemptively defensive driver. I'm looking for where is the worst driver. Oh, there he is, there she is, whatever. But I was
Yeah.
driving along, and I was seeing like offense after selfish move, after angry driving, after stupid maneuver, one after another. And every one of them was hitting me as far as I perceived it. And I was emotionally reacting, not
Yeah.
responding, instantaneously to everyone with some kind of, oh my gosh, can you, oh, look at that guy, look at this, oh. And my brother was riding in the car next to me, and he looked at me and he goes, you know, you don't have to drive through the world correcting it.
That's so good.
And what he did is he pulled me into that immediate sense of calm, clear, centered, grounded, personal awareness and being. And all of a sudden, because I had gotten sucked into it so badly that I was no
That's
longer aware of me. I was just out there in commenting, like a movie critic on and there were a endless parade of dumb maneuvers out there. It's true, but the fact is that it was depleting me. It was wearing me down to the point where I had lost my center, completely lost my center and self-awareness. And I was
Mhm.
just out there like with this, invisible clipboard making, rating and judging. And they were horrible drivers, but that's not the point. The point is how I had reacted rather than responded
That line though is
emotionally.
you don't have to drive through the world correcting it.
Yeah.
And that really, that is the key. That sums up this entire time. The distract, because that is what creates the distraction. That is what occupies our mind and pulls us from what's most important. To think that it's our job to correct the world, which that is the one, that is the negative impact of social media right there, that everybody thinks they have to correct everyone else.
Let me add this, Glenn. It's
Yeah.
not just, you don't have to drive around correcting the world. It's not just that. It's that, you know, ancient, archaic, prehistoric people like myself and you, we went to high school together. Um, we were around before this interwebs, before
Yeah.
all this was a thing. And life was way different and way more personal and real then. And
Yeah.
also, I don't want to say restricted, but we didn't have the ability to broadcast our opinions
Yeah.
and stances and thoughts and distractions too. Now we live in a culture where the majority of the world has the ability to instantaneously broadcast their
Yeah.
thoughts. And this has not proven to be a very good thing for the collective. There are some individuals who are luminous, and this is magnificent that they can instantaneously reach the world with their insights. That's fantastic. But
Yeah.
we all know that that's like maybe 1%. And
Yeah.
the majority is incredibly stupid TikTok video stuff.
Well,
And the
it is
world eats it up. They
broadcast.
love it. They love it.
Yeah, it's broadcasting a very low vibrational consciousness.
Yeah, it's feeding everybody's ego with thousands of little dopamine hits called likes and views and
Yeah.
things like that. And then it is helping to perpetuate everyone staying in that state of consciousness, which, as you have correctly said, is very low. Now,
Yeah.
if I could, I don't want to say toot my horn, but the topics that we cover on this channel are way higher frequency or intention anyway
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
that kind of
It's
stuff.
not.
And we can't even pass 500 people who find it worthy of subscribing. But
Yes.
have a stupid, uh, you know, verbal verbal shitstorm of somebody's
Mhm.
opinion going on TikTok on an incredibly low level of consciousness, they will get millions.
Yeah.
And it's
And
just,
certain things take times, and there are so many gifts that have come out of this, out of
yeah,
the internet.
there is a lot of good as well.
Yes,
Yes.
there's a lot of good. It's not just a bag session, but more importantly, it's about being conscious and aware of the vibration which we communicate on by the vibration of the things that we let distract ourselves. For me, I run ads all over the world for my online products, for my HypnoVault, for the meditations that I do. I put myself out there. When you put yourself out there, a lot of things come back my way.
You're not out there, Ma. You're not out there. Because
I'm
if you
out
were
there,
out there,
baby.
I'd see you because I'm out there. I'm out there, George. Sorry, we're both
Yeah.
incredibly avid Seinfeld fans. So yeah,
What happened?
you are sort of that's a vulnerability in a way.
Oh, yes.
You're
My
casting a
ads,
troll net and catching a lot of trolls. You're
many
trolling.
millions. It's not an exaggeration. Many millions of people have seen my ads because I run a lot of them, and they've been running for a while. They never stop running, and
Well,
there's a lot of.
I should mention more specifically to our viewers that you are arguably the most well-known certified hypnotherapist, at least in the United States. I know that you have something to the effect of 20 million views for
On
your.
certain videos, on
Yeah,
certain videos that I've
yeah.
been in, and I have several
I've hit
thousand.
as many as 30.
I know.
But yeah,
I
Glenn
I have
is a very
several
well-known
thousand
and
people.
well-accredited
Yeah.
hypnotherapist. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But sometimes I'll get an ad and they'll say, oh, one of the most recognized hypnotists. How come I've never heard of you? And you know what I answer back? You just have.
Bam,
So
bam.
good. And then people write back, you're right, good job. But what happens a lot of other times, I get so many comments of people just saying the most nasty things to me. And they don't even know me. They don't even know my products. But because they see me or whatever it may be, something triggered them. I keep a folder called the funny folder.
All
And I have
right.
screenshots. I screenshot every negative comment and then I delete it. And some people I block. If it's really nasty, I block them. But I never, that's another rule I have. I never respond to a negative comment and I delete it. And I have my assistant, both of us every day, go through my ads and make sure that there's no negativity, that there's no hate. We just block it and delete it. And that takes the most amount of self-control I've ever had to exercise. Because I've started typing back, no. And every time I delete it, I'm much
And
but
there's the point you're making. We do
yes.
the first point we made was, you don't need to drive around the world correcting it.
Yeah.
Point number two, you do not need to take the bait. You do not need to engage yourself in you don't have to accept every invitation to a fight. You don't.
It's true.
And I've mentioned in other episodes the teaching of the Buddha. Somebody said, paraphrasing, what do we do about people that drive us nuts and insult us and all that? And he said, if someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does the gift return? Who does the gift belong to? Well, the person who was trying to throw it at you.
It's a
Okay.
great line.
Yeah, now it's not always easy. I'm not here saying it's easy. It's not.
No,
There's times where somebody goes, all right, you know what? I know all that, but I'm going in for the kill anyway. I have a friend who likes to call it strafing. And it's actually really funny how he does. He considers his dropping a bomb to end the whole thing kind of a comment or response. He calls it strafing, and he'll come in with his. But the other thing is, and I know he's aware of this, it's just that to some extent he's enjoying it nonetheless enough to keep doing it. And it is kind of funny, but there's a point which you have reached, and you have no choice, Glenn.
right.
You've got so much traffic coming in. You absolutely could never engage or address
Yeah.
the haters. And you know what? When people send those kind of hate bombs and nastiness, it's actually not even about you, which you've realized.
Yeah.
It's not even about you. It's them sloshing around in the crappy vibration that they're in right now, which may or may not be their own fault, but that's where they are. And they're trying to sling
Yeah.
chimp poop at you in the
Yeah.
zoo of the internet. And you just don't have to catch it. And if you can reach a level of I'm going to say transcended detachment or non-attachment, unattachment, transcendent unattachment to that kind of stuff. Well, then to me, that says to a large degree, you have mastered your ego, because it is the ego and the intellect, we'll just call it the ego intellect, that is the one that has to bark back, has to bark louder, has to bite and get the last word. And the people who always have to be right, have to win the argument, have to always make the other person wrong, they are
Yeah,
the weaker. They are the weaker one.
it's true.
Somebody that has to always win every argument and always make their spouse wrong, or their or a stranger on the internet who had the gall to disagree with them. This is the weaker, blinder, lower vibration person.
Yeah,
And there is an opportunity there to put a positive spin on it, to take the lesson that entanglement is offering you. Just take a step back and say, how's this working out for me? How is doing it this way working out for me? How am I feeling? How's life?
yeah,
And there comes the realization and the opportunity to rise above in awareness, realization, understanding, and to reach that higher, next step higher, at least the next one higher, of
yeah.
transcendent unattachment.
That's a big one.
and
It's
and maybe you can laugh at some of them. Even if you get good enough at it, you might
it is.
genuinely even be entertained by some of them.
Oh, sometimes it is. And other times it can just be maybe one day I'm feeling a little more vulnerable than normal. And then I see a comment, I'm like, that's not what I really needed to see right now. But I stick to my rule. Block, delete, don't engage. And then within a few seconds, it's gone. Versus a back and forth drama wheel.
Yeah. No, and what is that? A massive black hole for your limited sacred energy. That's all it is.
Yes.
In the history of my channel, 2 years now, one person verbally attacked me, and he said, "You're a fraud." And when I looked at it, I looked at it and I just thought, oh, I'm going to laugh at this for months. I'm a
Yeah.
fraud. I'm a fraud. How? I'm a fraud at what? What have I proclaimed myself to be that I am actually secretly not? I haven't proclaimed myself to be anything. I've repeatedly said I don't claim to have mastered in any way anything
Yeah.
that we discuss and offer and produce to share with people. I haven't, it's because it's not about that. This whole
Yeah.
channel is not about me. It's about offering spiritual insights that are of practical use in your life to the best of my ability. And this, you're a
Best
fraud,
musician.
brother Owl.
I
I
love it.
just laughed like,
I just got to say stuff. You know, what you said, you think about it, even the best musicians in the world still play bad notes.
except Benjamin Verdery, never won.
Yeah,
That's an
Ben never.
inside joke. That's an inside
Yeah,
joke. So we've explained the general gist of, the
yeah,
the innumerable pitfalls and black holes that are more than willing, able, and ready to suck all your energy dry out of you if you're willing to allow it and feed those things. And
yeah,
we've also talked about, hey, if we can step out of that enough to have some clarity to regain our composure and get centered within, we can see the folly of what we have been squandering our energy with. And to whatever degree we are able, we can reach a higher and transcendent level of unattachment to those things where we're just above it. I'm not saying we're better than all that. I'm just saying we're beyond it. We're not affected by that anymore. That used to drain immeasurable amounts of my limited sacred prana. But now I learned from that and I'm over that. I'm no longer
I'm
addicted to that kind of a drug. And
sure
so
you
how,
have to.
as a hypnotherapist, how do you counsel um, and treat people that come to you with a problem that's like this?
Well, there's two things, and my approach now, initially when you go into this kind of work, it's like Let's go back to the beginning. Let's find out where this came from. Why aren't they happy with their lives? And now I'm like, when you dig up too much of the past, you end up getting dirty, and it just keeps compounding. So now my approach to this is, all right, what can we do today to start to create a beautiful life for yourself? What are the action steps we have to take? What's the plan we have to do? And at the same time, what can we let go of without having to go back through your entire history? What are we willing to let go of today? So then we can put your energy in creating a beautiful life for yourself from today.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That's the
And
starting point.
I
Yeah.
love that you said, what can we let go of today? Because man, it's
Mhm.
just always there. That's always the starting point. I did an episode called What Can I Release? I recommend
Mm,
for people. It's not so much about what can I strive and struggle and work myself to death to earn and achieve and become that I'm not and that I don't have and that I can't yet and all that. It always
yeah.
starts with what can I release? And when you release something that doesn't serve you, you are releasing yourself from that something that didn't serve you. So of course it goes both ways. It's not just let it go, it's let me go from it. You're taking
Yeah.
the meat hooks out of your flesh,
Yeah.
and a lot of times that involves forgiveness
Mhm.
as well as part of that. And forgiveness is, in the English language, we think of I forgive you means I pardon the wrong that you did to me. That is completely not at all what forgiveness means. Forgiveness means I willingly and lovingly, with compassion and understanding, disentangle us, whoever the other is, the collective, the internet, the cyber world, my next door neighbor, my spouse, whoever the other is. I willingly disentangle us from the entanglement we had experienced that afflicted us both. I
Mhm.
released myself from it, and thus likewise are you released from it. But you
Yeah.
have no responsibility whatsoever for how the other person receives and responds and processes that. That's not your kuliana, okay? And
Yeah.
that's what forgiveness means. You are taking the knife out of you. You are
Yeah.
you are dropping the hot coal ember that you had been holding in your hand. That's but also for the other person simultaneously. But it's about self-liberation. And
Yeah.
likewise, also, I liberate you from the entanglement we had been in, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's so
a
wise.
very beautiful practice. So that's what it is. When we take the attention back inward, all right, what can I do now to start creating a beautiful life? And then the second part is learning how to do one thing at a time. There's a word for not mono vision, mono thought. I'm not using the right word, but the idea of doing one thing at a time.
Well, there's another Buddha teaching right there. The
Mm,
Buddha taught, do what you are doing. It sounds like
that's so
there's nothing there at
simple.
first. Yeah, do
That's
what
so
you are doing.
simple.
Yeah,
It's
do
great.
what you are doing. Do not that we praise multitasking. Oh, you're such an incredibly skilled multitasker. You can do 6, 7 things at a time with a baby on your hip and a phone in your hand and a blender in your okay, not good. If you're an astronaut, okay, you need that because
I've
that
been I've been over this last, I want to say 6 weeks with my assistant. I started doing this thing now where I make just a simple checklist for the week, and I finished one project and then I moved to the next. I used to do a little bit of everything at one time. Now it's like, you know what, in my mind, that's tomorrow's project. That's tonight, I'm just doing this. I have been able, Brian, the amount of projects we're getting done and the things I'm about to release, it's amazing how much better I am becoming at doing things, just doing one thing at a time. Finish this, then move to this. Do what you're doing. Was that the line?
Do what you are doing. What that
Do.
means is be completely present and focused on and immersed in only the single task in which you are engaged now. Okay, that's a nice, fancier, longer way of saying do what you are doing. When you are driving, do not be talking on your phone and putting your makeup on and trying to take a French fries out of the box. Do
Yeah.
not do those things. When you are driving, drive. Turn off the radio when you can, when you're able. Be in a
Mhm.
state of driving. And then when you get home and return to your family, be completely present to returning to your family. When your child comes to you with a skinned knee or a broken heart, be fully present to nursing the wound of your child. When your cat bunts up against you for affection, be in the moment of petting and loving your cat. It can be for a few seconds, it can be for a day. It's whatever. Just be fully present
Yes.
to
And when
the
you're studying,
task at hand. Whatever it is you're doing, don't allow other things to come in and creep in and chisel away at that. Now,
yeah,
women are inherently better at multitasking than men are. Men
I
are
agree.
much more single focused. I'm extremely single focused. I can't do
Yeah.
two things at once well. But even though there are times, and they say that that's instinctual, it's inherited, because women would
Yeah.
be the nurturers of the children, so they would be tending the children
Mhm.
and making the food, tending the children and
Yeah.
doing the gardening. So that's why they have that higher ability than men. But ladies, don't get swept away in that. Don't see it as a virtue to juggle 5, 6 things at once.
Yeah. To
Allow your
do.
mind to clear. Again, the Buddha comes up again. The
Yeah.
Buddha was walking from one place to another, whatever, and his disciples were with him, and it was very hot, and they stopped to rest under a shady grove, and there was a pond. And the Buddha said, "Would you fetch me some water to drink?" And his disciples went down to the pond to get some of the water, and apparently some water buffalo had been there recently, and it was all muddy. And they came back and they said, "Oh, Lord Buddha, we couldn't get you the water because it's all muddy." And he said, "That's okay, leave it alone for a while and it will clear on its own." Okay, so that's how the mind works. Leave it alone and it will settle. Don't constantly crave, don't incessantly and insatiably crave stimulation. The mind is like a well caffeinated, sugared up puppy looking for a
Yeah.
chew toy. It needs a constant chew toy, constantly. And can you imagine if you've got a leash to that puppy that's like that, and that puppy is pulling you, yanking you around? As the Zen proverb says, let go or be dragged.
Yeah.
Do you want that hyper puppy that's got to chew on everything all the time, dragging you around? That's your
That's where
mind.
that line comes from. It's a Zen. Because I use that line, the way I heard it was, and the way I use it is, when we hold on too tight to the things that don't serve us, we get dragged. That's how I use that line.
Okay, it comes from the Zen proverb, which is let go or be dragged. And
That's
it's
cool.
speaking of the restless, insatiable
Yeah.
mind, which I,
That. I know
I
where it's from now. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. You know,
I love
I've said in other episodes, and it's not my original quote. In fact, I'm going to drop two of them here, and I'm sorry for those that have heard it before, but it's so gold. Um, the first one is Jamie Catto. Love what he said. He said, "We are each of us a wise guru in charge of a mental patient. The
it. Yeah.
soul, the center here, is the wise guru. This is the knowing. This is the presence. This is the calm and the understanding and the anchored groundedness. It's here. It's here. And up here, if you're led by the ego intellect, aka the Antichrist, because the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature is here. If you're led by this up here, led by it, wow, you are
Yeah.
getting dragged, man. So the hierarchy is the soul and the body and the mind. And the body has more wisdom, I think. Gosh, I forget who said it. The body has more wisdom than any of your philosophies could ever
Yeah.
hold. I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry who said that, but it might be Carl Jung. I don't remember. But the mind is, here's the other quote.
Carl's really old right now.
Yeah. Well, here's the other quote. The mind is a wonderful servant and a tyrannical master. It's not meant to be where you operate from. It's not meant to be what yanks you around and directs you. That is soul, not mind. The mind is a lens through which to analyze, comprehend, categorize, distribute, understand, measure, things like that.
Yeah.
It's not to be lived from. And most of us, we live in our heads, so to speak. And so we get sucked up in this.
So to wrap
Yeah.
this in a perfect thought, because all this really does relate perfectly, from learning, making rules for ourselves to not engage in those lower vibrational conversations, in those lower vibrational arguments, doing what you're doing, do one thing at a time. If you're studying, study. Cell phone goes away. If you're eating, eat. Multitasking now is too many distractions. One thing at a time. Do what you're doing. I love it. And then be really aware. What you said, what is guiding you? Is your ego, is the insatiable need for some kind of input driving you? Or are you connected to what's most important and going from that place? And I'll leave this last question. I wish this was my question. I use this in many, many sessions. When I heard it, it just blew my mind. When I say to somebody in a meditation, and I say, what would have to happen in order for you to love yourself enough to give yourself the gift of a beautiful life? What would have to happen? It's a beautiful question to ask someone in a meditation. And we'll leave with that.
Thank you so much, my brother, my longtime old friend, a tremendously honorable and integritous human being, one of the best people I've ever known, and one of the most sought after certified hypnotherapists around, whether you've heard of him before or just today.
Yeah,
And
you type my name in, it comes up everywhere.
On that beautiful note, we will conclude this beautiful conversation. Thank you to all who have stayed with us, and we hope that you have derived value and meaning and inspiration from what we have shared with you today. Thank you. Your presence is a gift.
Absolutely.